First, what are your thoughts on decriminalizing marijuana possession, and do you think is Indiana destined to legalize marijuana?
No, I don't. To answer your last question, I've taken a couple oaths of office. One when I joined the Navy, put on the uniform, swore to uphold the laws, and one assuming this office, another oath, and so I would say that their intent should be directed at the federal law that still treats marijuana as a controlled substance and illegal. Now, for whatever reason, states have had the ability, they don't have the authority because it's illegal, but they've had the ability to go out and operate as if it were legal. State of Indiana and this administration is a law and order administration and state, and we won't pick which laws we choose to follow and which ones we choose not to. So the first step would be for them to direct their attention in actually making this idea legal. And I have even said, and I'm sympathetic to potential medicinal use, if it truly, there are a lot of drugs.
So, the governor said we're a law and order state, and we should focus on, the federal government. So, when I look here, 33 states have legalized medical marijuana. 26 have decriminalized marijuana. 11 have legalized it outright. And 2 of them are Illinois and Michigan. And Congress has passed the Rohrabacher-Farr or Rohrabacher-Blumauer Amendment, which prevents the Department of Justice from spending money to interfere with the state's medical cannabis laws. And this was originally proposed in 2001, and it allows the states to make the decisions themselves. It pulls the federal government out of it. And this is where the governor, I think, doesn't understand that the federal government allows the states to have this authority. And the Constitution says if it's not in the Constitution, then the states have the rights. And if the states don't pass laws, then the people have the rights. And this is very clear in our federal government. So, you look at this, and he says that we have taken oaths, and we have, and I've taken an oath with the governor, and it says that we'll defend the Constitution against, enemies, foreign and domestic. But the governor says that we won't pick and choose which laws to follow. Well, the federal government made hemp flower legal, and President Trump signed it. But Indiana passed a law making it illegal for hemp flower, which went against federal law, and businesses had to sue Indiana for their federal rights. And that law that Indiana passed violated federal law, and there was an injunction that the federal courts from southern Indiana, that Curtis Hill is now appealing that injunction until Indiana can correct their laws in this next session, because we have a part-time legislative body. So it's legal in Indiana to sell hemp flower until either Curtis Hill goes and the appeals court decides that the injunction was incorrect, or the federal government changes the law because the lower court, the federal court, decided that Indiana law was against federal law. So, and Governor Holcomb says he's sympathetic towards the patients. Well, you have Governor Pence, who was sympathetic towards patients, and he passed a right to try law, which bypasses the FDA vetting process for new medications. And there's a grandfather clause for any medication that, like aspirin, which was being used before the FDA process was implemented in the 1970s. So if you look at these things, the Right to Try Act, has been in place for a few years now, and states like Michigan, Missouri, Colorado, Louisiana, Arizona already had those in place. So, I find that interesting that Governor Holcomb says we don't pick and choose which laws that we want in Indiana, because it's obviously we're picking and choosing that we don't want, that he doesn't want hemp flower, and that we're not going to follow the FDA rules for meds for some kids who are, or some people who, need medications, and they're sympathetic towards them, but we're not sympathetic towards people who need medical marijuana. So then, the federal government does have a medical marijuana program through the Compassionate Investigation New Drug program that they have, and the medical marijuana is grown at the University of Mississippi since 1976, and these people had a settlement through the Department of Justice, and I just find that very interesting. And I think the governor actually says something about the FDA here in his interview.
Drugs that have to get FDA approval that probably would be very beneficial, but they have to go through a process, a medical process. And marijuana's not done that. Now, we have one of the best agricultural schools and one of the best medical.
So you see, he said all the drugs have to go through an FDA process, but Indiana has a right to try law, which Governor Pence, who's now Vice President Pence, pushed through that. No, they don't. That law that Indiana passed bypasses the FDA law. So Governor Holcomb is actually saying one thing, but Indiana has a different law which allows us to bypass the FDA process. So very interesting, Governor Holcomb, that you say one thing, yet you're doing another thing, and you're sympathetic for people who need pharmaceutical drugs, but people who want to use marijuana, which is a plant product, you say no. You say no, you can't have this. So why are you saying no, Governor Holcomb, when it's a plant product, but you're saying yes to pharmaceuticals that haven't made it through the FDA process? Why is that? Well, I propose, is it because you're getting donations maybe to your campaign, and marijuana companies or cannabis companies haven't given you that? Maybe that's the reason? Well, maybe somebody should investigate that. Is Eli Lilly donating to you? Maybe we should look into those things and see. Well, maybe that will be on another video, because we're getting close to the end of the time for this. And, this is Jason Straw. I just wanted to touch on this subject since you had an interview with the media, and the media didn't seem to touch these issues. So we'll look into this a little bit further in another episode. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.